Hey guys, welcome back to the shop. We've done it. We've actually reached our funding goal for the crowdfunding campaign, which is also the exact point it stops becoming a fun engineering project and transitions into a manufacturing problem. And as I'm learning, manufacturing problems are much more annoying. Because in prototype land, if something's crooked, inconsistent, or slightly stupid, you just fix it and move on with your day. But in the realm of production, if something's crooked, inconsistent, or slightly stupid, it shows up 50 times in a row and then starts charging you rent. As someone on the spectrum with a truly elite level of procrastination, I perform my best in that brief, beautiful moment when the panic of an approaching deadline finally overpowers choice paralysis disguised as meticulous planning. So naturally, now is when things are really starting to happen. First off, seriously, I want to thank all of you guys. Hitting the funding goal means a lot, not just because it's moving the project forward, but because it shows that there's actually a ton of you guys who believe in this idea and see the vision of making forced induction modular, affordable, and accessible to the people who actually want to get in the garage and build stuff. And now that this thing is funded, I wanted to give you guys an update on where everything stands, what changes we're making, and what problems have come up, and most importantly, what happens next. And now that we know that there's real support behind this project, we're going to be moving towards a production-ready casting pattern. And that's actually a pretty big deal because there's a huge difference between making a one-off casting for prototypes versus, hey, okay, I guess everybody wants up here with me. As I was saying before I was interrupted, there's a huge difference between making a production-quality casting versus making a prototype work 3 or 4 times. And designing something that can actually be manufactured consistently, repeatably, and without every single part becoming its own little custom adventure. And part of making that happen is actually collecting the last little bit of data before the production casting pattern can be finalized. And with that in mind, the poll results were actually super helpful because they directly translated audience enthusiasm to additional work for yours truly. More specifically, they told me I still need to 3D scan 5 different engine platforms at the junkyard before we have all of our necessary data, which honestly feels really on brand for this project. Part engineering, part manufacturing, part wandering around a junkyard with a 3D scanner like some sort of broke cyberpunk archaeologist. This list right here isn't fully comprehensive, I get that. I know you modular motor guys are gonna be in the comment section just typing away at your keyboard furiously. What about the Mustangs and Crown Vic? Look, I own a Crown Vic. I'm absolutely planning on doing that. But in order for our system to work, we're either gonna have to attach it to the stock intake manifold on top where the throttle body would be with some brackets, which is gonna look absolutely ridiculous, or we can find a way to cast intake runners to work with our modular multi-fit casting. There might be some patent complications with that approach, but we'll see what we have to do to try and make that work. As for the 4.3 liter V6 guys, what I'm thinking is we remove the top half of the factory manifold, create our own casting that converts to the Holley style flange, ditch the spider injectors and mount traditional injectors on the outside, making a plug and play harness that converts to that. Should be pretty trivial and hopefully not really add much additional cost to the setup at all. But those 2 specific platforms will have to be after the production version of the casting's out and up and running. When I started this, I decided that since I'm not running a distributor clearance was going to be a problem for future Stacy. Well, here we are. As it sits right now, the distributor and the casting try to occupy the same place at the same time, which is hella illegal. So one of the changes is we're going to put a slight back cut in this corner right here to accommodate a crab style distributor cap. And that's actually a really useful improvement because it's also a much cleaner install for Mustangs and F-150s. And it's certainly going to be simpler and cheaper than the standalone coil on plug conversion that I'd already started designing for this. And for those of you interested in that, that might still be coming just a little bit further down the road. Go to work home. Now, before we get this thing ripping and roaring, I do want to turn on the spindle real quick.
Oh, you don't have an auto on?
Oh no, the computer will tell it how fast to go. I just want to make sure it works still.
Oh.
All right, moment of truth. This is terrifying.
I'll do it. I'll watch it explode.
Dude, we got to engage our safety squints.
Oh, they're already here. They're engaged.
Oh. Initiate, cut, test 1, version 2. Okay.
functioning, but not deep enough.
Oh no, it's cutting.
It's touching.
Greg.
It's touching now.
Ha-ha!
It's gonna run off the side. Did you put work 0 in the dead center?
No.
It is too.
You're rotating. Oh no.
Static.
Oh no.
I know I'm rotating, but why can't you drag it?
Well, it was cutting. It made circles, and then it did not lift enough in the Z direction, and jammed it into the plastic. Zoom, 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 zoom. Zoom, 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 zoom. All right, anyway. Took off the stepper motor and used the grinder, ground a flat spot. So now this shouldn't slip on the shaft, and we'll actually get some relatively accurate Z height movement. So I guess let's put this thing back together and see if we can actually cut some material with accuracy now. All right, guys, we finally have everything dialed in on the CNC machine. So hopefully this time, fingers crossed, it will actually cut out our test patterns to make sure everything's fully calibrated in. The last circles were within 2/100ths of a millimeter. That is less than 1/10,000th of an inch. That is honestly within the accuracy of my mid-range calipers. Unless Mitutoyo wants to send me some $1,000 digital calipers, I think that's good enough. So let's get this thing cutting and see what happens. All right, let her rip. All right, spinning up to like 12,000 RPM. Didn't re-zero the workpiece. Now let's try it. And then... Ooh, buddy. Greg's just gonna stand there and man the E-stop. Okay, I need to make a grid on this table so that we can fasten things down to the table. And I'm gonna do 2-inch centers. Cool, 2 holes down and like 170 left to go. Let her rip. The next step is going to be machining all of these holes and a 2x2 grid in our scrap aluminum that I'll be panel bonding to the bottom side of the work table, so we have something to bolt down to that is a little bit stronger than this plastic. You may be wondering why build the build plate out of plastic instead of just using a giant piece of aluminum. Well, the truth is, this is all scrap metal for me, where a piece of aluminum this size and this thickness would be well over $1,500, probably approaching closer to $2,000. And not just that, this plastic spoil board is waterproof. Most of the time people use particle board for this, but I'm going to be occasionally using misted coolant on this table, and I'd rather have something that's going to last a little bit longer than some carbohydrate foam. Well, damn, son. We're machining. We're cutting metal. I'm going to 3D print something that does this that's not, whatever the hell that is. But whatever. Technologia. Check this out, guys. Whoops. That is the world's coolest bubble wrap, that's for sure. Cool, now that the CNC machine seems to work, we're gonna go ahead and machine these intercooler end tanks by hand. And here is something you don't want in machining. Chatter. It's actually pretty interesting to see the entire vise shaking. It's quite aggressive. This is exactly 25% of the chips for one process. Oh, that's gonna suck to clean up. And that is where I stopped filming. Now, after I finished those manifolds, I actually drove overnight to take them to the machine shop. That way I could get them there first thing in the morning. And, you know, found out that my camera has a super slow-mo feature and had to drive through a bit of a thunderstorm. So I hope you guys like 1000 FPS ultra slow motion lightning. Anyway, it's a lot of fun. If you guys aren't interested in this, probably on the wrong channel. I spend at least 1 month out of the year chasing tornadoes and documenting severe weather. That'll actually be coming up this May, where I'll be filming a documentary with a major camera manufacturer. No details out on that right now. But yeah, that'll be after the manifolds and stuff are in full production. So, anywho, yeah, hope you enjoy what you're watching. Alright, hey, somebody's already in here waiting on me. It's almost like I had to come in the shop before I could start filming. The tops have all been machined flat. I need to make a protective cover for the rest of these processes because the finer metal shavings would be an issue for people's engines. So, first thing I need to do before I can machine the O-rings is create a fixture to hold this guy onto the table. We've got it drawn up in CAD with all the bolt holes to tie it down to the table. So, let's get this fixture set up so we can start machining some intercoolers. All right. Technologia. Technologia. All right, guys, jokes aside, the vacuum attachment that I ordered on Amazon 3D printed broke because the person who designed it didn't account for the 200-pound gorilla operator. And the vacuum portion is way too small for my vacuum anyway, so I'll just redesign my own and kind of copy this magnetic mechanism for the brush, which I really like. But for now, we will use the vinyl for the suck. I just put this guy on here to check alignment with the holes, and it is just tits on. It's perfect. However, I found a problem. I don't think that is enough room to put a bolt to clamp this down. So I need to move these guys over. You know what? I can re-drill it in this one. That'll just be a little bit of weight reduction. Look at that. This is what I had to do to keep this damn cat off the CNC table. Stop lying problems. The earliest batch of intercooler production has been educational. The first version of the welding fixture had too many degrees of freedom, which is basically a fancy way of saying it allowed the parts to move around and express themselves when I really needed them to not do that. And that actually became a even bigger issue when the cores showed up, and some of them were as much as 1/8 of an inch out of square, which is not ideal when your goal is to build something accurately and repeatably. Which actually brings me to the homemade CNC mill, which works great until I needed to do the exact same thing more than once. Right now, it doesn't actually seem to reliably save the home position information. It's really quite a strange behavior. Once you finally get the thing over the home position like it's supposed to, it will cut out the parts absolutely perfectly. We're talking dimensional accuracy down to 1/10 of a millimeter or less in any direction. It's awesome. But then after the cycle finishes, you tell it to return to workpiece 0, and it's off by more than 1/2 millimeter. And 1/2 millimeter doesn't sound like much until you start trying to do repeat production parts, then it becomes extremely much. Between the fixture having too much freedom, the cores showing up out of square, and the mill deciding that home is more of a suggestion than a precise physical location, it's safe to say that intercooler production has had some challenges. Anyway, but that's just the reality of moving from prototypes to a full production part. Prototype problems are charming and create character, but production problems, that's more of just a personality disorder. And the good news is we're working through all of it. And one of the biggest next steps is that hopefully by the end of this week, I'll be buying a full production ready CNC mill. Right now I'm either looking at a used Haas or a brand new Langmuir. Because at a certain point I have to decide, do I want to spend my time compensating for machine inconsistency or just buy my way into a machine that hopefully will behave itself? And one of the big things about CNC is it should do what it's told. As somebody who's chronically saying, screw it, how hard could it be? And I'm actually for once leaning towards just buying the better option. Now, I will be fixing this guy's issues undoubtedly, just not while people are currently waiting on parts for their project cars. The original plan was to build a large automated CNC machine that could fit 9 manifolds or intercoolers at a time, but until I can make the small one a load part, cycle G-code start, simple solution, there's no reason for me to dedicate my time into building a larger machine that's going to absolutely have the same issues. Fortunately, just buying a new machine is well within the same budget constraints of building the larger one that I originally set out for. And having an off-the-shelf solution should hopefully make a big difference when it comes to repeatability, production speed, and just the overall ability to make these parts without fighting every single step of the way. And that matters for everything, not just the intercoolers, but the manifolds and just scaling up this whole project. So that is where everything currently sits. The goal is for the production version to, at a bare minimum, fit every version of the small block Ford 302 and 351, as well as 4-liter and 3-liter Ford V6s, Honda J-Series, at least 2 Nissan V6s, 3 Toyota V6s, and I feel like that is more than enough to prove that this is an absolutely wild idea. I've had a number of you guys reach out about wanting an intercooler from the crowdfunding campaign. The crowdfunding campaign is technically closed, but I am going to go ahead and open it up on the website until Monday. That way, any of you guys who are coming to the party a little late still have a chance at this second batch. This week, I'm going to be going up to Lubbock, spending some time at a junkyard, then pick up the remaining orders from the first batch of intercoolers, and hopefully purchase a CNC mill. So yeah, with that said, I guess let's get after it and let's make some boosts.